Begin with the pledge to the flag, please.
Hello?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Berminski?
Here.
Mr. Haas?
Here.
Ms. Howe? Here. Mr. Kelleher?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Ms. Edmond?
Here.
Mr. Schnee?
Present.
Mr. Urban?
Here, I'll be there in a minute.
Mr. Vogt?
Here.
Ms. Wakes?
Present.
Mr. McKinley?
Present.
All present.
Okay, to begin the meeting this evening, we have a proclamation. 2 weeks ago, we intended to provide the proclamation to Janice, but she was away at the conference receiving her award. So this evening, we're lucky enough to have her with us this evening. And I'd like to read the proclamation, and then I think Ms. Von Son wants to have some commentary. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the proclamation reads, whereas the Luzerne County Council and the citizens of Luzerne County believe that the greatest gift an individual can bestow on his or her community is a willingness to serve and place one's own needs second to the needs of others. Whereas the independent living supervisor at Luzerne County Children and Youth Services, Janice Rendell, has proven herself to be a leader, advocate, and mentor to the older youth of Luzerne County, where her actions have had a positive and lifelong impact on many lives she has touched. Whereas Mrs. Rendell's achievements have gone above and beyond and far exceed her normal duties of employment, providing unwavering support and lifelong connections to all the children and youth she has served. Whereas the Pennsylvania State Adoption Network has recently named Janice Rendell as the 2018 Independent Living Caseworker of the Year for her achievements in working with the youth of Luzerne County. She is being recognized at the 2018 annual SWAN conference this summer, which was 2 weeks ago. Now, therefore, we, Luzerne County Council, do hereby honor, applaud Independent Living Supervisor Janice Rendell, LSW, as a loyal, valued, and 33-year employee of Luzerne County, and thank you for continued service to the youth of Luzerne County, and congratulate her on being named the 2018 Independent Living Caseworker of the Year. Congratulations, Janice. Janice, come up, please. Yeah. And Joanne and Lynn. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Janice.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to just say a few words, and then Janice is going to take over. So, as many of you may not know how difficult and heroic the job that my staff does on a regular basis, but I am able to witness it on a daily basis. And Janice, on a daily basis, performs at a level that I'm in awe. She inspires me on a daily basis to be better and to do better, and I believe that she inspires the rest of the staff to do the same. It is an honor and a privilege to work with Janice on a daily basis, and she is so deserving of this award.
Thank you, Joanne, for those kind words. And I'd also like to thank the county for this opportunity to be able to work for 32 years at Children Youth Service. I did just about every job there is there, but when I became the independent living coordinator about 10 years ago, I knew I found my true passion. What I do is I assist the older kids who are in foster care, make a life plan for themselves, and then I do whatever I can to help them achieve that plan. And I must tell you, it is the most rewarding job that there is. I just love my job. I have a passion for my job. And I tell everybody it is the best job in the whole agency. I have had so much rewards from this job that this proclamation is just the apex of everything that I have achieved or received from this wonderful opportunity to work at Children and Youth. And I must say that the workers at Children and Youth have showed me such unwavering and amazing support since I got this award from the statewide permanency conference about 2 weeks ago. They have been absolutely wonderful and just so supportive. And I think they fill up the last 2 rows of the gallery here. And I want to thank them so much for everything that they have done and how they have supported me. And I'd also like to say probably the best compliment and the best thing I feel good about is that there's actually 3 independent living kids here at this time. And I really feel that that is worth everything that I've done throughout the years. Thank you so, so much.
I think, as you can see from the audience this evening, we have quite a few here to support Janice, and that's great to see. Obviously, your work has been greatly appreciated, and certainly we as the County Council certainly appreciate all your work and all the people who work in that department. I believe that's one of the most critical and heartwarming departments we have in the county, and we appreciate all your efforts. Thank you. We have one other announcement. We have a retiring Barbara De Silva from the case manager supervisor position at Aging. She will be receiving a letter acknowledging her years of service, and thank you for all of her work here at the county. Any additions or deletions from the voting session agenda? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So,
Mr. Keller, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Wakes, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
aye.
Thank you. Item number 1, motion to approve the minutes of the June 12th meeting. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Mr. Keller, do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Segman, on the question? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition?
No.
Mr. Urban?
Right.
Any abstentions? None heard, motion carries. Moving down to agenda item number 2, we have a resolution to deposit the money from the Unemployment Compensation Fund, $254,902 into the reserve fund.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Kelleher, Mr. Urban?
Second, yeah.
On the question?
On the question.
Oh, I skipped over. Oh, you're right. Excuse me. Go ahead, Ms. Halkin. We'll go back. I'm sorry.
What is the current status of the reserve fund? Do you have an idea?
Mr. Sweats is here in the back.
I wish I did.
I can get it for you in between the meetings. I have my laptop with me. I'll get it. But it was, we're actually around 4.7 million, give or take.
Okay.
So that'd be a little over $250,000 going back into that.
I did look in the budget report, but again, they're not at the division level. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had to ask the question.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay.
Before we continue with the vote, is there any public comment? That was my error. I skipped over that. We don't have any slips from anyone. Do we have anybody with public comment? Mr. Olaf?
My old feeble memory escapes me, and I'm sure I saw on the agenda that title, that bugaboo called Old Business. And I don't want to speak for anyone else who's brought up questions in the past, but I'll just speak for myself, and I'll just bring up one. It has 3 subparts, I think. Long time ago, I asked the questions regarding the Records Retention Center, And some of the questions that I remember are, what's the square footage and the cost per square foot of the original records retention building? And the same thing for the additional, I don't know what you want to call it, the workroom, citizens room, whatever you want to call it, the addition. And what was the square foot cost on that, and how many square feet did that entail? And hopefully someday somebody will have that answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, going back to number 2, Mr. Keller made the motion, Mr. Urban made the second. On the question? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Resolution, roll call, please.
Mr. Berminski?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Helk?
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Ms. Sedman?
Yes.
Mr. Schnee?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Vogt?
Yes.
Ms. Wakes?
Yes.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Moving down to number 3.
Mr. Berminski?
Yes.
I'd like to have my vote recorded for agenda item number 1 as a nay, please.
We can do that.
Please.
Thank you. For minutes, record Mr. Berminski's vote as negative. Number 3, motion to approve the ordinance authorizing an amendment to the 2018 budget to allow for a transfer from the reserve fund to the Public Defender's Office. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Perry? Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Wakes? On the question?
Well, on the question, I did ask the question of Mr. Greenwald as to how much money is left in his division at this point, and maybe Mr. Sweats has that answer.
No, but I can get that for you. I have, like I said, I'll add it to my list. I have this with me, so
I know,
depending on how
we're
much
gonna
time
vote now.
is in between the
We're going to
meetings.
vote now, so,
Understood.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Chair.
Mr.
Yeah,
Urban?
I'd like to know that too, because, you know, when we were looking at Mr. Greenwald's budget last year, I mean, there were people that left, there were people that weren't hired, and there was residual money that was left over. Is there any residual money left over now that was actually budgeted that hasn't been spent? Because if there is, then we can give him a lesser amount than what he's asking for now.
Well, you weren't here when I asked the question, and Mr. Greenwald did say there's money in salaries, but I don't think you can use the salary money because it's encumbered, unless they eliminate the positions.
Well, I think if it's left over, he can. If he hasn't spent it, if he has vacancies for 2 or 3 months that he hasn't filled the position, and money's there, it can be moved around within the department.
Yeah, but it's not I think it's still encumbered for the rest of the year unless you declare that you're not going to use that money. You're not once you allocate it for salary, it's encumbered money.
Well, money's money to me.
Anyone else?
Mr.
Mr. Seidman, and then Mr.
I
Sneed.
just wanted to know, in response to Mr. Urban's question, didn't Mr. Greenwald reduce the amount he requested originally because he had reviewed his budget and found there was not a need for 100,000?
Mr. Greenwald's going to the podium.
That's correct. If you recall, the first time I addressed the council on this issue, the submittal was $100,000, but I indicated it could be reduced to about 80 because I felt that there was some funds in my budget that I could probably use. Just so everybody is aware, it's my feeling, and I've spoken to both counsel who are representing Mr. Marchetti, that the costs involved in this case are going to exceed $80,000. So I appreciate and I understand the discussion that council is having, but to reduce the amount at this point after basically I already reduced the amount is going to only make me have to come back here. Just, you know, maybe this is the appropriate time to point out that the Pennsylvania legislature issued a report today, a 280-page report on the death penalty in Pennsylvania. And basically, the finding that I'd like to point out to the council, one of the statistics was that since 1978, 150 the imposition death penalty sentences have been reversed in various courts, And the reason that the vast majority of those cases have been reversed is because defense counsel did not present or investigate the appropriate mitigating evidence. And that's why I've been here 3 times. That's why I presented this request for funding, was so that we don't have to try this case in Luzerne County twice. It's as simple as that. We could do it right the first time, you know, and I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not talking about fiscally. From my perspective, I want to do it right because that's what good attorneys do. I understand your concern might be a little bit different than mine, but I want to do this the right way, and to do it the right way means it has to be properly funded.
Mr. Sneed, you have a question?
Yes, at the previous meeting, I voted no because I had a concern. And speaking with Mr. Greenwald previously, prior to the meeting, he did answer that concern. But I want to go on record of saying that it has nothing to do with Mr. Greenwald or his staff. I think his leadership and his staff do, you know what I mean, a job second to nobody. And my concern had nothing to do with their office. And he put my concern to rest.
Thank you. Ms. Saban?
I was wondering if it would be possible, Mr. Greenwald, Attorney Greenwald, so that in case this comes up again next year or where there's another death penalty case, if you could report back to us the amount of money actually used and what it was for.
Sure.
And then is there the possibility, or has everything been, well, I know right up to the end, is there any likelihood that this can be done with the DA's office as a plea?
Oh, I'm not going to talk about the guts or the merits of the case. That's not for a public forum. My request is pretty, you know, it's pretty straightforward. And I'd be happy after the case is over to talk about the finances. I think that's a good exercise. I think it would be a good exercise for all entities of the government.
Thank you.
Anyone else for Mr. Greenwald? I would like to say, Mr. Greenwald, I agree with you. I think you do it right the first time.
Well, I think no matter how you do it right, you're going to get lawyers in here if he's convicted and he's given a death sentence to appeal it from now until eternity. They're going to keep on appealing it and appealing it and appealing it, and after he sits in jail, if he's convicted for 10 to 15 years, they're going to say, cruel and unusual punishment, let him go, after we spend another $1 million or so. So I would hope that you and the DA could sit down and come to some kind of agreement. When was the last time somebody was actually put to death in Pennsylvania, do you know?
I don't know.
No.
Years.
Years. Yeah, except that's exactly why I'm asking why the DA is asking for the death penalty, knowing that we have a governor now that's in there that's said openly that he's not going to sign any death warrants, and that they're just going to be appealed and appealed and appealed and appealed like they've done in the past. So
I believe it still doesn't advocate our right to do it right, the proper way.
Well, and to be honest with you, Mr. Urban, I agree with you. I don't agree with you with regard to the appeals. You know, that's a legislative mandate in death penalty cases. But I can't answer the question of why this is being done. You'd have to talk to someone else.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Howe?
No.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Ms. Sedman?
Yes.
Mr. Schnee?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
no.
Mr. Vogt?
Yes.
Ms. Wakes?
Yes.
Mr. Brominski?
No.
Mr. McGinley?
Yes. Motion carries. Moving down to number 4, motion to adopt a resolution, declare a vacancy in Luzerne County Convention Center Authority.
So moved.
Mr. Kelleher, do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Segman, on the question? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Ms. Sedman?
Yes.
Mr. Schnee?
Yes.
Mr. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Vogt?
Yes.
Ms. Wakes?
Yes.
Mr. Brominski?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
And Mr. McGinley?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Down to public comment. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Wakes, Mr. Snee, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll start at 6:30 with the work session. And Mr. Azuri, you're going to be up first.